Okay, so ready to have your perspective completely shifted.
Always up for that. What have you got for us today?
Today we're diving into a memoir, Writing the Khamseen Wind. It's by Susan Zarif. And let me tell you, this isn't your average walk down memory lane.
Oh, what makes this one stand out?
Well, just for starters, she takes us from small-town America to the Vietnam War, then on to the Hippy Trail, and ultimately to life in Saudi Arabia and Lebanon during some really intense periods of history.
Wow. Okay, so we're talking multiple continents, multiple cultures, and a front row seat to some major global events.
Exactly. And all through the lens of one woman's life.
That's what I love about a good memoir. You get that personal perspective, the human side of history. Speaking of, let's dive in, shall we?
Absolutely. So the book starts with Zarif's, shall we say, traditional American upbringing. And I'm putting that in quotes because, well, how many childhoods culminate in a stint in Vietnam during the war?
Right, talk about a crash course in culture shock. It was 1970 to 72 when she was there.
So much happening in the world at that time. The Vietnam War itself, obviously, but also the anti-war movement back home. Plus, you've got the Cold War just looming over everything.
It was a powder keg of social and political upheaval. In America, you had this massive counterculture movement gaining traction, challenging traditional values, and globally, you were seeing the effects of decolonization, nations redefining themselves, which often led to, well, let's just say growing pains, to be a young woman thrust into that environment.
Yeah, talk about a crash course in life. It makes you wonder, how did those experiences shape her worldview? What kind of person goes through something like that and comes out the other side?
Yeah, I'm really curious about that. And it seems like she kind of goes from one extreme to another because after Vietnam, she ends up on the hippie trail.
Right. From war-torn Vietnam to, like, the ultimate quest for peace and enlightenment.
Talk about a stark contrast. You know, imagine, one day you're surrounded by conflict and the next you're traveling through India, Istanbul, Thailand, Laos, all these places brimming with different cultures and spiritual traditions.
It's like she went looking for adventure, maybe even a sense of belonging, after such a tumultuous period, which actually is a pretty common thread among people who were drawn to the hippie trail, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to remember, this is a time when a lot of young people were disillusioned with Western society. They were rejecting materialism, conformity, the whole nine yards. They were searching for something more, something deeper.
And for Zarif, that search leads her right to Salim.
Ah, yes. The love story. Tell me more.
So they'd actually met years earlier during her university days. And talk about a whirlwind romance. They reconnect during her travels, and next thing you know, they're married.
Wow. And not just married, but navigating a bicultural relationship on top of it all. I mean, that's no small feat, trying to bridge two different upbringings, two different sets of values, two different ways of seeing the world.
And then, as if that wasn't enough, they end up in Sidon, Lebanon during the 1982 Israeli invasion. Talk about a high-stakes relationship test.
Oh, wow. I can't even imagine. To be newly married, trying to build a life together with that kind of uncertainty and danger all around.
Makes you wonder how they managed to hold on to their love through all of that.
Exactly. It's a testament to their bond, their resilience, for sure. But, even beyond the personal stories, the book gives us this really fascinating look at different cultures and historical periods.
Right. It's like getting a glimpse into a world that most of us have only seen through, like, news headlines or history books.
Exactly. It's one thing to read about historical events, but it's something else entirely to understand how those events impacted real people's lives.
Makes you think, right. In an age where travel is so accessible and we're constantly bombarded with information about different cultures, are experiences like Zari's becoming more common, or are they still something truly unique?
That's a great question, and it's something I'm going to be thinking about long after we finish this deep dive.
Me too. And for anyone listening who's intrigued by what they've heard, I highly recommend checking out Riding the Khamseen Wind. It's a captivating read. You won't be disappointed.
Definitely a must read.
Okay, on to our next deep dive.